Welcome back to our candidate forum. I'm Suzanne Boyd here with my very fired up co-moderator, Pastor Mark Boykin from the Church of All Nations. And we are coming to you live from the Church of All Nations in Boca Raton. Brian Moore, I don't know if you know what you've gotten into here. All right, Brian Moore, you are sort of a late add to the governor's race. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a civic activist, and I'm an independent, and a progressive, and a liberal, and I wanted to empower the rank-and-file Democrats to be given a choice in this election, and I didn't feel they had it. Ms. Sink, my opponent, represents the old school and conservative and corporate interests, and I represent the more liberal, independent interests.
Let's talk about the economy, because I think it's something that's on everyone's mind here in Florida. What are your plans to jumpstart the economy immediately and get Floridians back to work?
Well, I think my solutions would demonstrate how we really differ in our philosophy and approach. I have some systemic changes that we would implement. They're fairly radical. One would be to implement a nonprofit state banking system that would provide easier access to long-term low-interest loans for small businesses, people who want to purchase homes, student loans, lower credit cards, car purchases, and things like that. That would jumpstart the economy because the state has $14 billion in assets, and we would make it a revolving system where Floridians could help other Floridians. And the profits made through a state bank would generate the economy and create more jobs. Right now in the state of North Dakota, there is a state banking system that's been in operation since 1919, and they have $1 billion surplus. It's the leading state in the union in that condition.
Brian, you're not suggesting socialism, are you?
What?
You're not suggesting socialism, are you? I mean,
well, wait a minute, aren't all Democrats socialists?
How are you going to get that past the legislature?
I can't answer that question.
According to Rush Limbaugh and Hattie and Bill O'Reilly.
Well, I'm not an apologist for Rush Limbaugh, I can promise you that, but I do take exception to a banking system that's run by the state. I explain how that would work again. I'm a little.
Well, it's working right now in North Dakota.
That's North Dakota.
Since 1919, and
Okay,
they have $1 billion surplus.
Yeah,
So,
and they have done that, like they said, in Russia as well. So we're not moving that far to the left, I would hope, at this point.
Well, there are 12 to 15 candidates around the country that are advocating this type of system. And it works, and it would help the economy, and that's what we're looking for, are solutions. That would be one area. A second area would be a single-payer health system, which also would be self-funding. We would be able to reduce the administrative cost by about 25%, save hundreds of billions of dollars.
But aren't you disappointed that the president didn't go that far? He made promises that he was going to do that, and then
I think that the reform bill is empowering the private sector and the broken healthcare system, and it's giving them more political power too. So there's no reform involved in this, other than I think that there's a benefit to Medicaid recipients, which I'm happy about. But everything else, I think it's doomed for failure.
Well, if you're considering a state-run bank to fix the economy, what are you suggesting to fix our educational system right now that has so many issues financially as well? The class size amendment is about to kick in, forcing these schools to limit their class sizes to strict limits for the core classes, but they don't have the money to pay for it.
Well, here again, the profits made from the state banking system would be turned into funding education.
Sort of like the lottery system?
Pardon me?
Sort of like the lottery system is doing right now?
Well, yeah, could be, yeah. I mean, they do it in North Dakota.
well, we could just go call North Dakota and ask them to send down
Well, I think it's a very practical.
I mean, you're not comparing us to North Dakota. I mean, North Dakota's population is what, $500,000? I mean,
Okay, fine, but it's a system that works.
18.5 million here. That just doesn't.
Why are you opposed to change? And I think this is what it's all about. We need to implement a systemic change in our country and in our state. And I think that the people of a liberal bent are more open to this type of solution. We could also generate a new set of solar energy cars in Florida. That would be a mechanism and a project that we could work on. We can redirect our engineers from NASA who are being laid off to work on alternative oil and energy systems.
I don't think anyone has a problem with change, especially in the area of new technology.
Yeah.
But to put a picture of Trotsky up in the schoolroom would be a little bit much for me.
Come on now, this is the Red Scare. There's nothing wrong with, socialists are really, they decentralize government. They believe in a small government. They give authority to citizens and workers, all right? It's capitalism and communism that have built up these big governments, and that they have cost the taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. And we've gotten away from giving authority and power and control on a local basis to the citizens in the community, to the workers through collective bargaining.
Well, I think there would be a lot of people who would argue the point that we have not headed down that road under the present administration, because people I talk to every day are saying that we are moving more and more toward the socialist system. So, I mean, I think you'd...
Just think about it. The private sector. The health system failed, the oil drilling has failed, the property insurance, people can't get it, automobile industry has failed.
The private sector
the banking and financial
always comes through.
Failed this country. I mean, it's the trickle-down theory does not work.
Now,
the federal government has failed too in immigration. It's failed in a number of other areas.
You couldn't convince Ronald Reagan of that with supply-side economics.
Well, let's talk about immigration. You have some very interesting ideas as well for dealing with the illegal immigration problem. Tell us about that.
I think that we should issue visas to the immigrants, seasonal visas, to legalize their presence here, and not to criminalize them. We should really crack down on the employers for their exploitation of the workers. And that's where the federal government has failed. We have a foreign policy that supports dictators and tyrants, and it has caused the residents of those countries to come to America to salvage to survive. That's our responsibility. We have a moral obligation. The free trade, that put 1 million Mexican farmers out of business. They came to the United States because of that policy. That's an American policy. We have a moral obligation to treat the immigrants on a fair basis, give them seasonal visas, increase the minimum wage, and even give them amnesty. All right? And crack down hard and oppose the Arizona law. They have no business doing what they're doing. And hold the federal government's feet to the fire.
I would have to agree that I think the Arizona law is unconstitutional. Due process is completely undermined, and I think that we need to come with a new immigration policy. And it's time, it's long overdue, and I would have to agree with you on aspects of that. Maybe not completely from your point of view, but I think that we do have to think in a new creative paradigm for immigrants, because they are being abused. People who are afraid to even go out for fear that they will be pulled over and deported, some of them who are in process. We have a lady in our church. She came here and she and her husband built a business. He passed away. She employs 12 people, and her daughter is in France. She can't even get her home today, and yet she is building a thriving business right here in the United States. So there's a system that is broken. 1939, there were 900 Jews during the Nazi occupation of Germany. They were fleeing the concentration camps. They came as far as Cuba, and because of bureaucracy, red tape, quotas, they were turned back, and they went back, and many of them died in the concentration camps. To me, that's unconscionable. It is time that we rethought and reformed our immigration policy. I'm with you
But is
there.
that the state's responsibility?
Pardon me?
Is that the state's responsibility?
No, it's federal responsibility.
It's federal responsibility.
But he's
I'm
running
sorry,
for governor.
I'm sorry, I asked.
All right.
Just like, the oil drilling, I've been opposed to oil drilling in the Gulf since 2002 as a congressional candidate. And we're limited, the state territory for oil drilling only goes 10 miles out. But I would certainly advocate as a governor that our U.S. senators and congressmen push the federal government to issue a permanent moratorium on all oil drilling in the Gulf and in the Atlantic Ocean and Caribbean, all three bodies of water surrounding Florida. And we need to develop alternative fuels and get away from this fossil fuel dependency. Mass transportation, more jobs, partnership with the federal government and the state government.
All right, Brian Moore, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And because Mr. Scott has backed out on us tonight, we do have a lightning round that's coming up with all of the candidates. We're going to have them all back on the stage. So stay with us here for Vote 2010, the race for governor. We're coming right back.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.